So we are joined today by U.S. Space Force head of civilian personnel out at Los Angeles Air Force Base, but she's not in L.A. She's in right down the road in Mississippi today. Former U.S. Army vet, former U.S. Navy vet, graduate of Provine High School, Olympia Smith. We thank you so much for taking some time for us today. We've got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson. This is for our college and career readiness class, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Germantown, Ridgeland, the Academic Options Center, all of our JROTC instructors, and our YouTube channel as well. So thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
Thank you very much for having me. If I may, just ask, how many students are in today? Or are we just doing this?
I've got 9 in here with me right now. Got a mixture of juniors
Okay,
and seniors.
perfect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I will begin. Do you have an agenda? Because I just want to make sure I don't take over.
Well, I was gonna. No, you're fine. I was just gonna, just give us a little background. Obviously we know you were in the military for still a part of the military, but started out at Provine High School,
Mhm.
right here in the Jackson
All
area,
right.
and you made the decision at 17 years old to join the Navy. So
I
and
did.
I think that a lot of kids aren't really aware of options that the military offers. So just take us through
Okay.
that whole process of you wanted to get on a ship and see the world.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. When I was at Provine, I was not in ROTC, which is kind of crazy, but I was dancing. I was on the drill team at Provine. I was one of the captains, and my thing was I'm going to go to Jackson State and I'm going to be a JSET and I'm going to do all this and I'm just going to major in biology, become a nurse. So that's what I wanted to do. I had this whole look. I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And one day I think I took the ASVAB just to take it, and I got a pretty good score. And I actually was in like Home Depot and I saw a Navy officer and I said, oh, I love the uniform. And just kind of joking around, I was like, so what do you do? And he was like, well, I'm actually a petty officer first class. And he said, and I'm a Navy recruiter. So we got to talking and, he told me, well, you need to take the ASVAB. I said, matter of fact, I took it today. And so he said, okay. So we got to talking, and I ended up going down to the MEPS office, which is downtown Jackson. I believe it's moved now because that was
Yeah.
almost 30 years ago. But long story short, I decided to go to the Navy because the first thing he said was, you're going to get to travel countries and see how other people live and see different things. And you're going to have skills that no one else will have. You'll always be employed. You always have these wonderful, wonderful skills. And so I said yes. My father signed for me because I was only 17. Mind you, I had already finished high school. So I worked a year at the Jitney Jungle until I got ready to go to boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois. First time being away from home in the snow. I get there, they called me a Smurf. So long story short, I'm wearing this blue. And so the first 2 weeks you're considered a Smurf until you get all this, this gear and you're like considered like, an actual seaman. And so, but through this process, I could not swim. Once I finished, I learned how to swim.
Wow.
I was jumping from 25 feet towers and into the water and learning how to swim and rescue. So I learned that within the 8 weeks in Great Lakes. Again, there's a plethora of things, but my first 11 countries were visited before I was 21 years old. So
Wow.
um, I visited Hong Kong. I turned 18 in Hong Kong.
Wow.
From there, I was in Jebel Ali, Dubai, before it was really Dubai. So I can remember Dubai when it had nothing compared to now. Jebel Ali, which is about maybe a couple hours from Dubai. I was in Japan. I was in Yokosuka, Japan. I was in Africa, Djibouti, Africa, Singapore. Gosh, I can't think of, Guam,
Yeah.
all the different countries. And I visited all those countries. I got a chance to eat the food and meet the people. So again, by the time I was 21, I was well traveled. And All of that, the skills that it taught me, I went in as a hospital corpsman, which is actually a medic in the Army. So in the Army, we call them medics. But I went in as a nuclear medic. And what it was I got a chance to go on submarines, to triage individuals and prepare them for the nurses and the doctors to either suture them up or get them ready for surgery. So I had a lot. I was pretty much, knee deep in a lot of medical activity, on the ship. So sick call, a lot of different things and such. And then I switched over to HR once I got into the Army. So I did nursing for 11 years, and then I did HR for 10 years before I got out of the military. So
Wow. So I did want
that's
to talk about that Navy, the hospital corpsman thing. I had a former student that was a hospital corpsman in
mhm,
San Diego. She had a shore
mhm.
job, and I think that, a lot of people are like, well, then I don't want to be out on the boat. Navy has plenty of shore jobs as well. But she was a
Absolutely.
hospital corpsman, and because
Mhm.
of that, she got training to go to nursing school, and now she's going to nursing school for free. So I think that
Absolutely.
we all see the movies, and a lot of kids are like, well, I don't want people yelling at me. I don't want to blow stuff up. I don't want to shoot a bunch of weapons. That's such a small part of what the military does.
Absolutely.
Because like, I mean,
Mhm,
obviously, even though you did learn the basics and you got to do some cool stuff, you were not a combat
mhm.
occupation and never have been in the military. The amount of technology skills, engineering skills, even just physical skills are immeasurable, and they do translate into so many civilian jobs.
Absolutely. Yes. And so I will add to that. So you do have your combat areas, but if you are a medic um, or a corpsman, you have different areas. If you are in a triage area, you're going to be safe. You're not going to be in an area where they're shooting. That's most of your infantry guys. Um, Now they do allow women to go into ranger and infantry areas, but in my day, you did not. And so you were more in the safer areas. Shore duty and also overseas duty or sea duty. The great thing about it is there's only so many years women can do sea duty and then so many years of shore duty. Most of your women that have your children, if you have children, you're on shore duty. I did half and half. I was on the USS Shasta AE-33 for about 5 years. Then I did another 4.5 on shore duty, and I was at Naval Station Coronado. So most of
Wow.
your medics and corpsmen will be in a clinic. So you'll be passing out meds or doing sick call or doing those things. So you just wear your uniform every day, and then you'll just do that stuff. When you're overseas, you're going to be doing the same thing or at sea duty. You're going to be doing sick call, you're going to be triaging, but you're never going to be in that front where you're receiving, any type of combat, at all. Most of your
Yeah.
combat areas are going to be your combat ships. So those are like your big ships, but your tender subs, which is what I was on. The Shasta is a supply ship. Excuse me, it's a supply ship, and your subtenders, they're going to be like on the backside, where your combat ships are going to be in the front, and they're all men, all men. So you don't get many women on those type of ships, and so but I will tell you, in the Army, it's nothing like shooting a 50 cal. It gives you so much power. I will tell you, I've done that before and it is just so freeing, but I love it. Um, but again, now women can do a lot of things that they could not do, 10, 15 years ago. There's ranger training, only most men SEAL training women are doing now, as well as being on different ships in different combat areas that we could not many years ago. So, but nope, it's not just blowing up things. Remember, everything goes together to support the individuals that protect our country.
Absolutely.
So when we have HR, when we have medical areas, that is to take care of our soldiers and our airmen, our soldiers, our seamen, all of those individuals. We that comes together as a conglomerate of individuals that take care of our special forces, that take care of our SEALs, our Rangers, and all of those individuals who are sniping and going overseas and making sure that we're safe. So that is why a lot of people may think it is blowing up a lot of things because, of course, that's what the TV shows are heroes, and kudos to those heroes. But however, in order for those heroes to be successful, please know that your HR folks, your medical folks, your dental folks, your logistics folks, operational individuals all come together to make sure that the entire organization is safe.
Absolutely. And I know you went to college because you went to college for free due to your military benefits. Because I also have kids say, well, I want to go to college. I don't want to go to the military. Well, you can definitely do both. So talk a little bit
Yes,
about how that works, because we may have some kids that are on the fence about going to college because of the cost, which is a very real concern. But the military, what
absolutely.
the greatest, to me, the greatest benefit you can get is free education paid for by the military. So talk about how that works.
Okay. Um, So, my first enlistment in the Navy was 4 years. And within that 4 years, after 12 months served, you now invest into your GI Bill. The GI Bill gives you up to 4 years free for college. And so you would just fulfill your enlistment. And then after your first enlistment, you can either be discharged out of the military, and then you can go to college if that's your choice. So I will go into what I did. I was on the ship the first 5 years of my military career. They have classrooms on the ship, and they have teachers. They have in-house teachers. And so you can go to what we call a career counselor. You tell them what you'd like to major in, and you can take those classes for free while you're serving in the military. And then you can start your degree plan that way. So I'll tell you
Yep.
exactly what I did. I started those courses, and by the time I had finished all of they're called PACE courses. But I
Yep.
finished those courses, and I pretty much only had about a year and a half at Jackson State to finish once I came off. So,
Wow.
yeah, and then there's also a program that you can go into while still staying active duty. You can go back to school, and you'll still be active duty, but you go to school. And after you go to school, they will put you in a job that's conducive to the degree that you receive. And then
Wow.
also, yeah, so that's IT, it's nursing, and then you become an officer, which is awesome. So you have enlisted and then you have officer. If you go back and they send you back for a degree in nursing, you will go into ROTC and you will come out as a
Yep.
lieutenant.
Yep.
So that is what I did. So that's what I did. And so that's how I became an officer. And then I went into the Army because the Navy was at Mississippi State and I wanted to stay at Jackson State. And so
Yep.
that's how I went over into the Army as a lieutenant.
Yeah, and that's also a
Yes.
great way for kids that want to go to college and go into the military. The ROTC programs, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Jackson State, all have great ROTC programs where you do the officer
Great.
training while you're getting your degree, and it does pay for a
Absolutely.
lot of things and gives you that opportunity to do both. So it really is a
Yep.
cool program. Now I
Yep.
want to talk about the Space Force because I think that there's a lot of misnomers about it. It's not like War of the Worlds. It's not like Star
Right.
Trek, but it is on the cutting edge of technology. And
It is.
with the Air Force and Space Force working together, you're looking at some of the most state of the art technology on the planet. And more
Absolutely.
kids are going to right out of high school, going to tech school at Keesler Air Force Base down here in Biloxi or wherever, getting these
Hmm.
certifications in demand technological jobs, and then they're doing
Hmm.
5 or 6 years, 8 years Space Force Air Force. When they get out, they
Hmm.
have certifications that can translate into six figures of technology careers as soon as they get out, and they
Absolutely.
have paid nothing for those certifications.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you, your GPS in your car right now comes directly from my office. We have space sensing. There's a satellite above the building. We are connected to aerospace. We're connected to, I can literally, from my office, I walk the hallway, I go right into aerospace. And Northrop, I don't know if you guys know what Northrop is, but it is also the reason Space Force can exist. It's all the equipment, everything that you have in your car today is because of the Space Force. If you know anything about Tesla, Tesla exists basically because of the Space Force. Elon Musk just signed a deal to upgrade the Tesla. And what's so great about it is, you get to see these guys, give direction as to what they want things to do. So HR is always there to make sure the law is in good standing. All contracts are read over and given to what we call the judge advocate, and that's our law folks, our lawyers that we have on hand. They go through everything. So again, HR is always needed. When we see all these, different things and technologies and certifications, all of those things come through the HR office. They're announced. So, like individuals who are already working for the Space Force, or if they are in an intern program, and remind me before I get off, I'll tell you guys about the PACU intern
Okay.
program that we have, and where you can get that information. We have interns coming in making anywhere from about 65,000 up to six figures, and that's because they have what we call a career ladder program. And
Wow.
so I can talk about that as well. There's so many ways that a lot of people are not aware of when it comes to the Space Force. In addition to that, when you're overall and you're talking about the Space Force, it is based on cyber attacks. So remember when your AT&T, when that line, everything started happening. Well, guess what? We're the first people to get that call and to say, hey, let's look into what's really going on with everyone's phone, because really and truly that can come from anywhere where people can invade that big powerhouse where it invades the entire country. So we have to be well aware of, who's doing it, different cyber attacks. So it's kind of almost like Star Trek a little bit. We can definitely understand the jokes,
Yeah.
but we get the jokes a lot at recruiting events, because people go, so the Space Force really does exist. Oh, wow. And, and right, and so we kind of joke, may the force be with you or something
Uh,
like that. But no, no, we're really people. We and that's why I had to tell someone the other day, no, we're real people. And this new movement, believe it or not, Space Force is 5 years old as of last week. So yay for the
yeah.
Space Force. We're still a baby, but we have tagged along with the Air Force. And so the Air Force kind of leads the way, and we're kind of taking over slowly, but the Air Force is still there. And it's just a combination. So you're working with Air Force folks and you're working with Space Force folks.
Yeah.
And most of those folks are truly talented. I mean, they know what they're doing. Um, so the intern program I was gonna tell you about, I can send you information on that.
Sure.
It does require you to either be a student. Thank you. Um, to be a student. I don't know if they are looking for high school students, but I can figure that out. I can find out, excuse me. And, but I will tell you, it is an amazing opportunity. I have two interns right now that work directly for me. They started out as GS9s. They are now going into GS11s next year.
Wow.
So they are doing excellent. And what they will do, it requires you to automatically place these folks. So what that means is they come in and they do a 3-year paid internship,
Wow.
and then they turn around and become permanent, you know, um, employees of the Space Force.
Wow.
And we do this every year. We pull interns in every year.
Yeah, and
So
something
I,
else, and we talked about how you partner with the Air Force. Um, even somebody's like, well, I just want to do it for a few years. When you can put on a resume military experience, and these employers that give veteran preference to applicants, they know that if you did cybersecurity in the Air Force, you're going to have hands-on experience working with a state-of-the-art cybersecurity program. Financial
Yep.
institutions are paying top dollar for cybersecurity certified people that probably have military experience. So I think
Hmm.
that's really, especially for the kids interested in engineering, interested in IT, all of those things. Right now, Space Force, Air Force is where it's at to get those skills. Not those. I'm not saying people shouldn't go to college, but that is a great path to get into these very lucrative careers.
Absolutely. And I will tell you now, a lot of people are gearing away from even the education piece. They are really focused on certifications. That's because you have the hands on training and you've taken a test. And that test is saying you have that knowledge. And so a lot of folks are saying, oh, I can go to college too, and then I can get a certification. If you really want to weigh it, I'll say go to college, yes, but get the military to pay for it and you'll be out
Absolutely.
of debt, you know? That's number one. You don't want a lot of student loans, but I'll also get to that as well because now the Space Force has a student loan repayment program. So there's a
Wow.
lot of wonderful things. If you do go to school and you decide, hey, I want to do a Space Force internship and or what else? Or if you just want to apply to the Space Force, you say, hey, you know what? I want to work for the federal government and I have military experience. You have the veterans preference. You have, if you did not retire, you have what we call a VOA appointment. You can also, if you are a veteran, meaning you go to the VA for any treatment. You can also get a preference of if you are 30% and above. And so that's also a way to get into the federal government. But once you're in, you're in. It does
Wow.
not matter. Once you're in, you're in. And you can go all over the world. Like myself, again, I jumped into the bandwagon and I said, okay, I'm going to take a chance. I'm here in Mississippi after my retirement. And I said, hey, let's just go take a job somewhere that I've never lived before. So, and
Yeah.
that's why I went to LA. And it's just wonderful. I love the people. Everything is just wonderful. But the opportunities are endless. So I recommend if anyone is interested, you can always let me know. There's jobs galore all over the place. And engineering, IT is, they're your biggest jobs that they try to recruit for. Um, but I will also tell you, I must say HR is the best. You don't get dirty too much, but you there are certifications that can get you more pay. And then you have HR federal and then you have HR private sector. And so, I call it the twofer, so either way it goes in HR, you will get what you need. But, engineering and IT are amazing and lucrative careers. So I would not tell anyone say, hey, you know what, don't do that. But IT right now is like endless. It's open. Google's all over it, and Google has all these certifications for the Space Force. Just it's a lot of reading and getting into these programs. But I will tell you, once you get into that program, you will be like, oh my gosh, all these opportunities have been waiting for me. So,
Yeah,
um,
and the
I
drone program.
yeah, oh yeah,
The drone.
oh absolutely. I forgot about that, but yes, yes, but we have a recruiting event, I believe April 23rd.
Okay.
And and we have the spaceships and the satellites where people can get inside. I really love it because it's so interactive and it really gives, folks a feel, of what's to come. You're kind of in there and you can see jobs and you can see, all the things that the Space Force does. And so that's a wonderful experience for folks that come to our job fairs.
Absolutely. Now, before I get to the students' questions, I just wanted to set the record straight about, for people considering military life, because even if you're not big in technology, every branch really can offer great opportunities, no matter, because, our friend Jennifer Riley Collins, who was in the Army for 22 years, has said several times, whatever job is in the civilian world, they have it in the military world, and you don't have to pay.
Absolutely.
So it
Yeah.
really
And
is,
she's amazing, by the way.
I guess she's been with us a few times, but
Okay.
but I want to set the record straight because a lot of kids, we've all seen Full Metal Jacket, and we all, and and you think boot camp is like that, and that's just not the case.
No.
These branches want young people to succeed. They want them to finish boot camp. They want them to get these skills because they are so needed. And that's
Mhm.
what I try to get across to, kids say, well, I think it'd be fun, but I don't want people yelling at me. Well, it's all the mental part is what's tough. We've had several alums from Belma Jackson that have joined the military, and they said, "Look, it sucked getting up early every day, but once you get used to it, it was actually a lot of fun."
Yep. And while your friends are partying and you are working hard, just remember 10 years after that, you'll wonder where they are. And when you see them, you'll go, "Oh yeah, as a result of partying, that is where you are. And as a result of you being diligent in your schoolwork and also focusing on the military or whatever career you have, you will now be successful." And so again, there's a plethora of things that I learned from being 17 all the way when my first 10 years in the military. I didn't realize how much ahead of my peers and my classmates I was. And so
Yeah.
even now, you look better, you feel better. You're able to, you're educated at a level that, most of your peers won't be. And you'll have that, you'll become mentally tough. And that is what you need. Sometimes, people will raise their voice, especially in boot camp, because they want you to try harder. But if you go through that boot camp, if you can get through boot camp that first time, just get through there, I promise you, when you come out, you'll be a great mentor for others that are going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and we just had a young lady here who's at tech school in Virginia right now, and she said in boot camp, she said, I thought it'd be hard, but it was a lot of fun. I got to throw grenades, I got to shoot rocket launchers, and
Yeah.
and she's also getting into HR. But
Yeah.
she was like, it was more toughness than anything, trying to get me to learn to
Mhm.
work with different people because that's the other cool thing about the military. You're going to meet people you never would have met, and meet people from every background, every country. It's
Everybody.
just such it really is such a great testament to our country to where you really
Mhm.
get to learn to work with any kind of person.
Absolutely. And you can learn the cultural values of each of those different people that you meet. I ended up meeting some really good friends throughout my life, and I mean we still keep in touch after almost 30 years. And so it's funny, we're Facebook friends and we have reunions and all different things. So it is definitely a wonderful experience, to be able to come together and see what people are doing. And that's what's so it's so amazing. Like my class right now, I mean, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have all these different, career folks, in my class, and I graduated in 1995. So that's why I'm like, to see people almost 30 years from now, they're doctors and lawyers and, retirees. It's amazing. So it's good to have a career and because you'll have something to talk about with your friends. So
Absolutely.
you'll always have that, yeah, and you'll have those milestones and different things to talk about, and it makes you feel good, especially when you're in the military. You can tell so many stories and talk about the different countries you've been a part of, or you've been in, excuse me, and different organizations you've been a part of. So it's a wonderful experience overall.
Absolutely. Well, I do have some questions from the students, and I'll get to as many of these as I can. This first one
Okay.
is Deja. She's a senior, and she asked, "I plan on joining the Navy or the Air Force when I graduate this year. What is some advice you would have on transitioning from civilian to military life?"
Right. Some advice I would say going to boot camp, you want to train your body to get up early. And so when you're transitioning to military life, you want to kind of keep your mind open. You'll be learning new acronyms, and just kind of, keep your mind open for the new things that you'll learn. And then you'll train your body to get up in the morning, start running now, meaning, kind of getting your endurance going so you'll know what you can and cannot do. I don't recommend waiting till you get to boot camp because you need to pass your physical your physical training. You need to pass those tests. Now, there is a new PT test that they have where you're picking up tires, you're picking up people, and then you're running. So I recommend that you start a workout regimen now, to get your body acclimated, to lifting weights and also to running. Then once your body is, geared up, I would say start getting up maybe about 5 a.m. And maybe doing a 2 mile run, learning how to eat, because you cannot just eat whatever you want and then think you're going to go run 2 miles and or maintain endurance. So you cannot do that. I would recommend reading a couple of books from, I believe it's from high school to military life, and I can send that book to
Sure.
you, Greg. I can send that to you. Um, it's an older book, but I think I can find it. But there's a couple books, that I would recommend for you. But really and truly, just keeping an open mind, preparing yourself. If you do go to the Navy, let me get to that part. You must know how to swim. If you can float, that's great, but you're going to be jumping from a 17-foot tower into the water. Hands crossed, straight down. You must come up and you must swim all the way to the end. I believe it's a 24-inch. Basically, it's a long way. So you must learn how to swim. So you might want to get some swimming lessons and learn how to have some endurance in that. Army, physical fitness. You got to run, you got to do PT. So both waking up in the morning, learn how to swim, learning how to run, and just keeping your mind open for the new acronyms, how people are communicating, and you'll pick it up pretty fast. Yep,
That jumping off
that's
the
what I
tower
got.
sounds like a lot of fun. I want to do that myself. Uh,
Yeah, I had to do it 3
yeah.
times though.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
This is Selena Johnson. She's a junior, and she asked, "Was there any point where you just wanted to break down and cry and go home? And what made you choose the branches that you chose?"
Oh wow, that is so funny. So the answer is absolutely. And believe it or not, even now, sometimes when I'm working and I'm doing certain things and I just can't get to to that right area that I want, sometimes I do get a little upset. But I will tell you, when I was 17 and I could not swim to the end of that pool, it really hurt me. Um, but they told me the only way I would graduate boot camp is if I did finish that. So I would call my mom and dad every day, and they encouraged me. Now, I will tell you, you're not gonna get to call your mom and dad every day, but they did, they thought that it would encourage me to do well with swimming. So they did allow me to talk to my mom and dad. But I will tell you, when I didn't pass it for the second time, I just sat there and I just boohooed. I let all my friends see me because I was so embarrassed. And I was just like, I can't believe I can't do it. And I had to do remedial swimming. So it was kind of embarrassing that I had to do that. But I remember one of the petty officers told me, he was my petty officer, and he says to me, he says, "Olympia, the only reason you're not doing this is because it's here. When you do it here, everything else will follow." And he said, "You'll know." And he said, "You got 3 weeks." And after that first week, I didn't pass again, but I was closer. And I went to sleep that night and I could see myself passing. And I got up to take the test the following day and I passed. So the
Wow.
crying was worth it. Um, I remember when I passed, and let me tell you, your petty officers are supposed to keep their military bearing. They're supposed to always, they kind of be like this all the time. They'll look at you. But when I passed, my petty officer's like, "Oh my god, yes!" I mean, he was so excited for me because number one, I was one of his leaders, and believe it or not, I came in the military leading. I was one of the assistant chief recruitment petty officers, and as a E3, a young E3 at that.
Wow.
And so everybody else was 18 and 19. I was 17, and I was the only person, on the leadership team. So even though I was on that leadership team and I failed my swim test, a lot of people, they had things to say, but I had a lot of encouragement. So even though you may cry, get the crying out for now, but then toughen up because you can do it. Don't let anyone change your mind. I say keep God first, talk to him and say, "Hey, this is what I want." And I promise you, he will give you the desires of your heart. I chose the Navy first because I felt like I would be able to see more things in the
Yep.
Navy than I would the Army because it was on the
Yeah.
ground.
Yep.
And being in the Navy, I mean, I've been face to face with whales. I have seen dolphins
Wow.
early in the morning. I had a whale come up between the ship at like maybe 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, just right
Wow.
beside me. He's just looking over in the ship. Was I afraid? Heck yeah, I was. But I had a weapon. So I was kinda like, "It's gonna be you or me, buddy." But, he didn't do anything. He just kinda rocked the ship a little bit, and then he went back down the water. So it was it's one of the greatest experiences of my life, to see animals and to see, how we get supplies and different things like that. But when I did go into the Army, I also had a different experience, and I would not have changed the order in which I've went. So
Yep.
the Navy was great, and it was in the best order that I could. Yeah, I wouldn't have
Yeah.
changed it.
Yeah. And that's so cool how every branch really has different things to offer to really fit what people want to do and their skills. Here's a good one. This is RJ Jones. He's a junior, and he asks, "How do you maintain motivation and discipline and continuously grow and evolve rather than being satisfied with what you've already done?"
Oh, it sound like my children. Mom, haven't you done enough? Jeez. Um, so I do have an app. It's called Pep Talk. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. And it's all these motivational speeches from a lot of celebrities, a lot of guys like, um, I believe, Elon Musk. He's on there. I believe Denzel Washington's on there. I believe, gosh, I can't think of a couple of guys. Oh, Oprah Winfrey's on there. Um, oh gosh, what Tamron Hall, a lot of different individuals that are on Pep Talk that are famous. I use that to motivate me. I have a lot of people call me at work. They call me Pollyanna because they say you're always optimistic, Olympia. You're always this person that say, "Well, I can't do it this way, but let's do it this way, and then we're gonna be successful." And even if we fall short, at least we got to the stars, right? So we didn't reach the moon, but we got to the stars. But I always I'm a journalist. I write. When I say journalist, I mean I write, and I write out my schedule. I still wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning because it never left me. So I
Wow.
use all of that to motivate. Yeah, it's four. I think this morning it may have been like 4:30. I get up, I walk around, I get a glass of water, and then I start thinking about my day. I look at my schedule. I prepare for whatever speech I have or whatever meeting I have. And I always pray first. I pray first thing in the morning. And I just kind of give God the glory for all he's done for me. I do ask for things. I said, well, Lord, I'm going through this or I'm going through that. I'm asking for the motivation, the push. And there are things I procrastinate on. But when I do, I work on those things harder. I prioritize. And then I push forward with the hard things first and the easy things last. And then usually, I get everything done. I'm a deadline person. I have to give deadlines and I receive deadlines. And so, with all of that, the motivation thing, it just comes like an instinct because I know that there's a place for me. I have missions. And when I say that, when I go into a place and I feel that God puts me there, there is a mission that I must complete. I'm on an assignment. So when people say, "Well, why do you keep doing all this stuff?" What pushes you forward? Because I'm not done yet. I feel like there is an example that I must set, not only for young girls that look like me, but just young women, period. It is not just about, young Black women, it's all women. And we have to look forward to that. We have to continuously be examples. And when I say I'm not through yet, I am looking forward to get into the White House. That is my goal. I
Wow.
want to be there. I want to be an advisor, and that is where I will end my career. I've already manifested and put forth, because I feel like I have a footprint there, and I have something to give. And so I'm working towards that. And it's just something, when you get to that one piece in your career and you say, I can do this, then you're like, wait, I can do something else too. And all in all, it's for two things. You want to pass down and pull up the individuals behind you, and you want to set the example and be a role model. And that is what I want to do, not only for Jackson, Mississippi, but for all girls everywhere, all over the world. And I believe that that is what I'm doing now. And I believe when I do get to the White House, I'll get to see the world and people will get to see me and they will say, oh my gosh, she's from Mississippi. So one day I'll get to tell them a little old Southern girl from Mississippi came and she conquered and then she sat down.
That's awesome. We're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us. It's
Yeah,
such an
sure.
incredible story, and I'll put your resume up against anybody we've ever had in this class. But before we go, like we said, we have some that are here with me right now that are considering joining the military. We have some that'll see this later that are considering joining the military. They may be on the fence about a lot of things, but why should they really consider a military career coming out of high school, especially if they're on the fence about going to college?
Well, number one, the military will help you pay for college. I will tell you, a military career will give you, an alignment in your life. And it will also allow you to make better decisions. You will learn things that you will never learn just as a civilian. I do believe going to college is a great thing. But when I go back and I look over my life, I don't believe I would have had the discipline to go to classes or to really persevere in getting great grades if it was not for the military. I wanted to achieve. And in addition to that, the military gives you that discipline, excuse me, and it will give you an overview and just an overview of your life. Like, what do you want to do now? There's so many classes and so many people that will motivate you to be more, to wanting more. So I believe that choosing the military is one of the greatest things you could do. It will give you rewards in your future. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, if you retire out of the military, you will always have your benefits. You will always have an avenue to becoming, a federal employee like myself. You will always, get jobs. People love military folks, and you will get first dibs on everything. So I believe if you did choose the military as a career, you will not be sorry. There are more things that you will be open to as far as jobs, as far as your future, than you would if you were just a regular civilian.
Love it. And again, I just
Mm.
can't stress enough the amount of benefits and rewarding things that can come out of a military career. But you timed it
Absolutely.
perfect because it's time to go look at the eclipse. We thank you so much
Ye-
for joining us, Olympia Smith,
Yeah,
Space Systems Command, U.S. Air Force Base, L.A., but she's right down the road today in Mississippi. We thank you so much for joining us today.
absolutely. Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Bye bye.